I'm the Rev Dr Sandy Forsyth. I'm the Director of Studies in the Church. I oversee education for ministry, and as part of that role I've been involved in managing the process whereby a recommendation's been made that Trinity College at the University of Glasgow should be our lead academic partner. This is part of a development process that's gone on for decades in looking to reframe and revitalise ministry training in exciting new and dynamic ways to focus much more intentionally on the nurture and formation of candidates in their faith, in their abilities in ministry and in their personal development, to make that our focus of training, to include skills and competencies, but to make sure that those we train are ready for ministry in a radically changing and evolving church and society. So the decision of the selection panel to make the recommendation for lead academic partner is an important step in implementing these new ideas about formation and training. They will affect those training for National Ministry of Word and Sacrament and those training to be deacons. Training for ordained local ministry and for readership will stay as it currently is, which is based on a distance learning programme. It will begin in September of 2027 with a new intake then of those who are accepted for ministry training. The new scheme for ministry training involves significant changes. And so the standard course of training for National Ministry of Word and Sacrament will involve a 3-year BD degree with 3 one-year integrated church placements, so that for every candidate for ministry, they will see the connection immediately between what they're learning in the classroom and what they're putting into practice. And those joins and connections will be things that will form them and will be assessed. For deacons, it will involve a 2-year programme with 1 deacon-specific year thereafter. There are certain exceptions which will make the programme shorter. For example, if people are a particular age, or if they have prior theological training or long experience in the church. The General Assembly in recent years has affirmed the decision to move to 1 lead academic partner. And you might ask yourself the question, well, why just 1? We currently have 5 centres of training and they all perform an excellent job in training our ministers. In recent decades, the numbers of those training for ministry has diminished. This has meant that the numbers of candidates at each institution, for the most part, is a very small proportion of the overall student number. So in turn, this has meant at our academic institutions with whom we currently partner, it's difficult for them to produce a curriculum that's very much ministry centred, given that their students who are ministry candidates are a low proportion of the overall number. What that's led to in turn is a somewhat patchy and inconsistent provision for ministry candidates between the different centres. That's meant that for some people, they've been trained very strongly in key aspects of ministry, and for others, that training has been quite weak. That's also meant that what the church brings to the table in terms of development and formation and education has been difficult to judge, because the church may well be repeating what has already happened within the university setting. And if they're not repeating it, they might be starting from scratch with some people. It's also meant that bringing all candidates together to form and grow and learn together has been tricky and only occurs occasionally when candidates have that opportunity at conferences. And so with 1 lead academic partner, the church will be able to invest strongly in what happens with candidates in their formation. The church will be able to enter into a new partnership whereby a core curriculum can be established that's very much ministry training focused and always ask the question, so what about subjects? So what for ministry? so what for mission. The church will be able to develop its own suite of courses, training events, and places of formation that also contribute, knowing that it's doing in a way that will develop people and not repeat what's gone on before. And finally, having one unified cohort, we all hope, will produce a way where people gather regularly, are in each other's company, and learn and grow together. There are 35 in training, 32 of those for Word and Sacrament, and 3 in the diaconate. That's those in the core phase of training. We also have probationers currently. Of the 32 for Word and Sacrament, 10 are training at New College in Edinburgh, 10 at Highland Theological College in Dingwall, 9 at Trinity College in Glasgow, and 3 at Christ College in Aberdeen. It's important to emphasise that under the new scheme of training with one national lead academic partner, this means that everyone will train in the same place, but it doesn't mean that anyone will have to move from where they currently reside, because a national programme means a hybrid delivery of in-person elements when everyone can be together in the same place, perhaps in intensives or in weekend residential, but at other times a sophisticated online distance learning element so that those who may be far distant geographically can very much be part of the delivery of teaching and be in the classroom situation with their colleagues in ministry training. There were 4 members of the selection panel. 2 of them were Church of Scotland ministers, the Reverend David Rankin, who's minister at Perth Riverside and a member of FAPALT, Reverend Keith Blackwood, who chaired the selection panel, minister at Manifield Church in Aberdeen. And there were 2 academics. Dr Cathy Ross is leader of pioneer training at the Church Mission Society in Oxford and has written extensively over the past 20 to 30 years on mission theology and in pioneer ministry. And Dr Heather Major is a lecturer at Cliff College in Derbyshire, training the lay people of the Methodist Church, particularly again in relation to pioneer forms of ministry. Cathy has been an external examiner and a visiting lecturer at Edinburgh and Glasgow, and Heather was educated at Highland Theological College at Edinburgh and at Glasgow, and has also taught at HTC. The process to identify and recommend a lead academic partner has been ongoing for some 6 to 7 years and was delayed by COVID. It regained momentum over the last couple of years. In order to identify a recommendation for a lead academic partner, the Church appointed a selection panel. Each of our currently 5 academic providers were invited to make written submissions with a whole series of detailed questions, both on their vision and approach to ministry training and also in the practicalities of delivery. St Andrews decided not to make a submission, but Glasgow, Edinburgh, Aberdeen and Highland Theological College did so. In addition to the 2 detailed sets of written submissions, each of those 4 providers had a final interview meeting with the selection panel. It's very important to recognise that all 4 of these academic providers are extremely gifted in what they do. They each have their particular strengths, and the Church continues to be very grateful for all that they've offered to ministry candidates in training over the years. But the strengths and the gifts that they have are all very different. So how is the selection panel going to carry out a comparative exercise between the 4 providers? A key focus for the selection panel was not simply to establish how good each of the 4 providers currently are, or indeed how well they have done in training ministers over the last few years. And I should say in that context that feedback is equal positive and negative, between those providers. It was not simply a case of saying, how good are you, or how well do you deliver academic provision? It was very much a case of saying, what's your vision for the future? How can you develop a model along with us in partnership that will be strongly focused upon formation and upon a vision for ministry? Do you have the desire and the passion to deliver that along with the church? Will you put together a curriculum that will ask the so what question every time? Are you firmly focused on what we need to do as a church? Are you servants of the church as well as the academy? Do you see this as part of a ministry? And so the church developed 22 criteria for the selection panel to use. Those criteria were drafted by the people in training team, but they were very much developed by a working group of elders and of ministers. They were run past a candidate currently studying at each of the 4 providers. And incidentally, each of the providers had given student references beforehand, with students offering their support to each one of them. The criteria were then passed by faculty, and they were sent to the panel and to the providers well in advance of the interview meetings, again inviting comment from both of those bodies on the terms of the criteria. And so after the interview meetings, what the panel very much focused upon was looking at the 22 criteria and then using a marking and scoring grid weighted on how important each criteria was. The marking scale was a way for us to ensure that this was a rigorous process which was fair and transparent, which allowed each of the providers ample opportunity to present not only their core current strengths, but their vision for the future. The scoring was weighted in relation to very important criteria, such as hybrid delivery nationally, how's that going to happen? Such as, if we're going to integrate and assess placements, how will that work? Such as, how do we develop a formation panel where there'll be all sorts of input from different stakeholders to the development of each candidate for ministry, and allow the opportunity for everyone to have a training that's more person specific and less one size fits all, that might develop particular gifts and skills in such as pioneering or chaplaincy. So these factors were weighted differently, and the panel then used a marking grid individually to mark each one of the providers and came together with their individual results to come to an end outcome. The panel scored Trinity College, University of Glasgow as the highest, using that rigorous process and the marking scale. The panel were very clear that what they found in the University of Glasgow was a bold, refreshing, innovative approach that wanted to look towards a strong partnership with the church to reaffirm their college identity as the trainers of ministers. They expressed a passion and desire to do so. And most importantly, they expressed it in a way that gave the panel confidence that it could be delivered. So it was that boldness and freshness of approach, that vision and desire, that set them apart in the panel's mind from the other 3, recognising still the great strengths of the other 3. Well, we very much hope, as the people in training team in the church, that our relationship with Edinburgh, with Aberdeen and with HDC continues to thrive. We are very aware that for them this recommendation is a significant disappointment, but we're very keen to keep that relationship going in the many other ways that they help to train ministries in the church and provide public access education for many people across the church. And that's something we'll be working to develop and encourage and commission over the coming years. The recommendation of the selection panel has been approved by FAPOLT to take to the General Assembly in May 2026. And so all of this is subject to the approval of the General Assembly. One part of their approval will be the question of deliverability. Can Trinity College, University of Glasgow deliver a radically new and fresh scheme for ministry training? If they need extra resources, or the church needs extra resources, is that affordable? And so our task now is to try to come to an agreement with Glasgow so that that too can be put to the General Assembly for their approval or otherwise. If the General Assembly rejects the recommendation or the package that has been agreed at the Assembly in May, then we retain the status quo and continue. It's important also to mention that for those who are currently within the training process or who may begin in September 2026, there will be no change. They will continue at the academic institution where they're currently placed until the completion of their degree programme. Supervisors of those training for ministry provide such an invaluable amount of their time, expertise and experience in the training of our ministers in the parish setting, in chaplaincy settings, etc. There's been a recent development in the way our supervisors are trained, and if we move now to this new system of integrated assessed placements, this will mean some further development in supervisor training, but will also mean different responsibilities for supervisors. And so over the coming months, it's very much our intention as part of the People in Training team to be in contact with presbyteries, with ministers who are supervisors, with ministries committees, to talk through what the implications might be and how best we can work in this together. We see the great opportunity there for the development and the refreshment, the renewal of what ministry training is. We see it in a way that might also aid the recruitment of those discerning and seeking ministry if we have forms of training that really do meet the kinds of goals that I mentioned. So this could be something, if it all comes together, that really revitalises our church at this crucial moment in its history.